Madam President, we wish to thank Martha Poby for her briefing on the situation in Lebanon. We supported the French request to convene today's emergency meeting of the Security Council because the situation in Lebanon warrants the closest attention of the international community. The Washington brokered ceasefire agreed upon on April 17th between West Jerusalem and Beirut unfortunately turned out to be a smokescreen for creeping aggression against Lebanon. While the whole world was waiting for the next round of negotiations, scheduled for June 2nd in the US capital, the Israelis continued to methodically expand the zone of occupation, razing entire settlements to the ground as part of its scorched earth tactics. It is becoming obvious that Lebanon is seeing an identical replay of the cleansing of the Gaza Strip, compounded by the establishment of large-scale occupation control and the forced displacement of the local population. 26 years after the withdrawal of Israeli forces from Lebanon, the white and blue flag once again flies over the Crusader castle of Beaufort, which has survived Saladin, the Mamluks, the Ottoman Empire, and the French Mandate. We are confident that this 12th century castle, which is designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, will certainly outlast yet another Israeli occupation. Previously, Israel announced its plans to limit the buffer zone to the Litani River, but now West Jerusalem's ambitions span the Zara River, with residents of Tyre and other major cities in the south being advised to evacuate. Thus, the emphasis is being placed on continuing the war, which has claimed the lives of over 3,300 Lebanese since March 2nd and forced more than 1 million people to flee their homes. Among those who are being regularly killed in the conflict zone are also rescue workers, doctors, and journalists. We strongly condemn Israel's aggressive actions and reaffirm our steadfast commitment to Lebanon's sovereignty, territorial integrity, and independence. We demand the immediate withdrawal of Israeli forces from Lebanese territory, which is a prerequisite for a genuine ceasefire. We have closely studied the information released just a few hours ago about the results of the contacts between the US and the parties to the conflict, including about the cessation of hostilities announced by Washington. We have taken note of these reports, but before making any further assessments, we need to see some concrete steps in this direction, specifically those taken by Israel's military and political leadership. Madam President, it is paradoxical, but as history shows, military conquests and expanding occupation do not resolve the truly pressing security issue facing Israel's northern territories. On the contrary, they tend to undermine the position of the Lebanese government, whose commitment to achieving a negotiated solution is beyond doubt. The other day, Lebanese Parliament Speaker Nabi Berri posed a question: who will compel Israel to stop its aggression? This is a rhetorical question, but until it remains unanswered, the situation will be in deadlock. Under these circumstances, it should come as no surprise that armed resistance to the occupation is increasingly being viewed as the only viable option. The continued and ever-expanding occupation of Lebanon is unacceptable and fraught with exacerbating ethno-religious tensions, national division, and the threat of civil war. The unfolding of such a scenario could undermine the already fragile security situation in the Middle East. We see here the only way out, namely a return of both sides to strict compliance with their obligations under Security Council Resolution 1701, which envisions the full deoccupation of Lebanon and the extension of state sovereignty over the entire territory of the country. We need to bear in mind that the deterioration of the situation in Lebanon is a direct consequence of the unjustified aggression by the US and Israel against Iran. Accordingly, the progress of the current Iranian-American negotiations largely depends on how the situation evolves in the Lebanese theater of operations. In this context, Russia fully supports international mediation efforts, first and foremost those of friendly Pakistan, and advocates seeking a comprehensive political and diplomatic solution aimed at the overall stabilization of the situation in the entire Middle East region. Madam President, we fully support the mandate of the United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon, UNIFIL, whose peacekeepers continue to valiantly carry out their duties under the most difficult circumstances. We demand that the safety of the blue helmets be fully safeguarded, and that those responsible for the killing and wounding of peacekeepers be held accountable. Given the imminent expiration of UNIFIL's mandate at the end of the year and the beginning of the mission's drawdown, we deem it necessary to maintain a meaningful UN presence along the blue line, without which it is impossible to ensure the monitoring of the implementation of Security Council Resolution 1701. Russia, as a responsible member of the UN Security Council, is ready to participate constructively in future discussions on this matter with a view to finding a mutually acceptable solution. Thank you.